Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome again to another unplanned stream. I do have some thoughts on the Diablo IV controversy and all of the unnecessary, in my opinion, drama surrounding the game. I picked this game up at the beginning of this month, so I didn't have it I didn't get it right away. I did not purchase the game on the day of its release. I did not pre-order the game. I had to wait. And thus, I am still currently in the campaign, of which there are 6 acts. In fact, it does seem to be, thus far, the longest campaign in a Diablo game up until this point, which counts for me as a huge plus. But nonetheless, I did want to hop on because it's kind of been nagging at the back of my mind. Especially, after witnessing so much flack being thrown towards Blizzard's direction in terms of some of the choices they've made regarding this game. So I'm going to try to play a little bit and give some thoughts as I play. So first of all, I do want to say that, in my opinion, this is probably the best Diablo game since the very first iteration. And I know a lot of folks really love Diablo 2, and to be honest, I think Diablo 2 is a terrific game. However, there's one huge problem with that game, and that is the bugs and the glitches. Most notably with the boss fight against Duriel in the second iteration. Again, it's a terrible bug. It prevented me from continuing with the game, and the workaround for that bug was so utterly absurd that I just decided to stop playing it. Now, granted, that bug does not happen all the time for all players across the entire world. Some people get it, and some people don't. But being that bug does just simply exist, prevents me from really giving that game the legendary status that so many people think it deserves. So I just want to get my thoughts out of the way in terms of that. Diablo 1 is the best Diablo game, and Diablo 4, so far, is the second best Diablo game, with Diablo 3 coming into third place. Coincidence, and then finally Diablo 2 being the worst of the series, simply based on the bugs. Again, we didn't have bugs in Diablo 3, we didn't have bugs in Diablo, we do not have any bugs in Diablo 4 so far, but again, I'm playing it on the PlayStation 4. I'm not sure how this game translates to the PC or to other systems such as the Xbox or the Nintendo Switch, but so far on this platform, it works fine. It's terrific. It's a great experience. The combat feels weighty. There's also a little bit more tactical prowess needed to get through some of the fights. However, I will say this, for the campaign, the combat has gotten just a hair easier with the latest patch than it was prior to the patch about a few days ago. So the game was a little bit more difficult. Now, people were complaining about how easy the game was, which was odd to me because I didn't find the game to be tremendously easy. It's definitely easier than Path of Exile, but again, Path of Exile is kind of its own special breed in terms of ARPGs. So I didn't find the game easy. Nonetheless, I do find the game easier now, which is a little bit disappointing. In terms of the layout of the game, I think it's terrific that they went into an open world direction with this game. I really enjoy open world games. In fact, I prefer open world games to linear games where you can't really explore, because again, the reason why I play video games is I really like to explore the world that I'm in. And if I feel limited in that regard, I tend to not really like the game as much. I'll still play it. There are certain games that are linear that I do enjoy, such as the Doom franchise, mostly first-person shooters. Like right now, I'm also playing Prey, and that's a really good linear game. The Bioshock series, again, a very linear game, but still a very good game. Nonetheless, I prefer open-world games, and I'm really happy that Blizzard went in this direction with this franchise. That being said, the open world is humongous, so do not believe anyone that tells you that this is a small map. This map is it's just huge. I mean, I've been playing it, I'm going to take a guess because you have to sign up for this really goofy online thing to look at your playtime, which I really don't want to do. So I'm going to take a guess and say that I've probably played this game for over 100 hours so far. And as you can tell, I'm on level 54, and I am also currently in Act 5. So over 100 hours, level 54, Act 5. And that to me is a great starting point for an RPG. I mean, if I'm playing an RPG, if I can't get, I know a lot of folks, they look at how long to beat, and it's usually 20 to 30 hours to beat the main campaign. But any true RPG lover will know that really isn't accurate in terms of the amount of time it takes to complete an RPG. Most players that enjoy RPGs do not want to just fly through the game in 20 to 30 hours. We want a very meaty, full experience, an experience filled with nuance, an experience filled with character, filled with wonder, filled with places that make us appreciate where we are in the world of the game. So again, if an RPG can't hit 100 hours, in my opinion, then it isn't really worth your time. Now, as far as the world is concerned, again, it's not just a world that exists from left to right and up to down. It's not a flat world. This world does extend in terms of, places going up as far as mountains and regions that exist above certain plains or certain grassy areas, and then the world also goes down into the dungeons. And there are a lot of dungeons in this game. In fact, there are, I believe, about 115 dungeons. Yeah, so there are 115 dungeons that you can go through. And again, in over 100 hours, I've completed 34 dungeons. Each dungeon, for the normal player, will take about an hour. Sometimes less. Some of the dungeons are a little bit easier than others. Some of the dungeons are a little bit more difficult. I appreciate that as well. There is a great variety in the dungeon layouts, in the bosses that you have to face at the end of each dungeon. There are some repeatable bosses, but again, they kind of make sense depending on the dungeon that you're in. So I do not hold Blizzard or hold anything against Blizzard for utilizing similar designs for some of their bosses. Even Elden Ring did that, and Elden Ring was probably one of the best games ever released. So yeah, there are a lot of dungeons to explore. Again, I probably won't be able to explore all of them through my first campaign playthrough. So what that will essentially do is it will add further enjoyment to my endgame. Okay? Now, a lot of people are also complaining that this game has no endgame. Well, I would argue that this game allows you to essentially create your own endgame. I mean, if you want to breeze through the campaign and beat it in 20 hours, you certainly could. What that does for you then is it allows you to utilize the unexplored areas, the dungeons, finding the altars of Lilith, finding all the secret locations, because there are a lot of apparently secret locations in this game as well. It allows you to apply that to your end game. Because currently, again, there really isn't much of an end game. Of course, I've yet to get there, so I could probably disagree with that once I do get there, which will probably be a little bit later today, I would imagine, or tonight. I'll probably get to the end of it. and I'm probably going to end up disagreeing with that statement as well, because again, there are things called Hell Tides, things called Nightmare Dungeons, and that's on top of all the things that you didn't explore yet, all the dungeons that you've yet to conquer, and all the side quests that you've yet to do. And that's another thing about this game, is the side quests are substantial. Not only are there a tremendous number of side quests, but some of the side quests themselves actually feel like main quests. They're very detailed, they're multi-tiered, they involve several different storylines, all coalescing into one overarching storyline that gives you a little bit more insight into the actual world of the game, and the world of the game would be Sanctuary. So, there's a lot to do in this game, there really is. And for those who are saying there isn't a lot to do, well, I mean, I'm sorry, they're being very dishonest with you guys. They're not telling you the absolute truth, and that's unfortunate. And I'm not sure if it's because they have some sort of built-in derision towards Blizzard or Activision or Microsoft. I know there's a lot of anti-Microsoft, anti-Activision, and anti-Blizzard sentiment out there coming from a very large proportion of the gaming community, and honestly, it's very unwarranted in most respects. Again, most of it is complaining about microtransactions, pay to win, things of that nature. There are no microtransactions that equal pay to win in this game. All the microtransactions are for cosmetics only, and again, you don't need cosmetics to play the game. In fact, if you're playing a game like this for cosmetics, I would argue that you're really not playing the game to have fun, or because you're a lover of RPGs. You're playing the game to acquire some sort of status or clout, because that's really all cosmetics are, is a symbol of status or clout amongst a very small number of players within these communities. And you don't need it, so why buy it? You can skip it, so there you go. You don't need to use the microtransactions. You don't need to pay anything further for the game. You bought the game, you get access to all the seasons, all the seasonal content, and everything. So again, that to me is a complete non-factor. A few other things that I did want to touch upon before heading into this boss fight, because I think that's where I'm going, is also the changes to the skills, to some of the loot that you come across. Either the loot or the skills being buffed or nerfed. Again, this happens with every ARPG that has seasons. I mean, it's a given. It's nothing special. It's nothing unique. They're not punishing people for creating really super powerful builds. What they're essentially trying to do, as every game does with their seasons, is they are trying to tweak and curate the game to create more of a balance. So there's more of a balance of power in the game. Because if the game allowed you to be too powerful, well then, I mean, it really wouldn't, it would be very hard to fit within the motif of each season. It's like Path of Exile does it too. They do it every season. They adjust parameters on gear, they adjust parameters on skills, they add new skills. I am not sure if they've taken away any skills. I think they have, actually, over the period of time that they've existed. But nonetheless, you still find the same group of complaining people within that realm as well. So with every season that passes in Path of Exile, you get a lot of people complaining, and then you get a lot of people loving the changes. And then you get, of course, the people who really want to play the game. They don't even comment at all. They just play the game. And I think that's what we're going to see moving forward with Diablo IV, is that you're going to see, again, a very large number of vocal naysayers who will ridicule Blizzard for every little tiny change that they make. And again, I really need to urge folks to not listen to those people. Those people are, for whatever reason, they're choosing to spend their time trying to destroy a game that in my opinion, they don't understand. Um, so this is a terrific game with a terrific sense of grandeur and a sense of discovery, and you know, the skills are very worthy. Uh, the builds that you can make are very vast, and you know, you can create a lot of different builds within each class. And honestly, I don't believe there to be any build. Sure, there are builds that might be better in terms of damage output and things like that. But again, the whole build dynamic in terms of what it's become is it's become almost like a what's the term I'm looking for here? It's almost like a pissing contest, and that to me is a little. It's lowbrow. It's low IQ. You know, yes, you know, you want to create some builds that are fun, that are exciting. There's certainly nothing wrong with, you know, telling people about those builds or introducing them to the community. However, there tends to be a very large amount of toxicity towards people who don't follow build guides. And, you know, I'm definitely one of those people. I do not follow build guides because that's not important to me. What's important to me, and what I think is really the most important aspect of the game, is how interesting is the story, how interesting is the world, can I find gear that will make me feel somewhat powerful, you know, do I need to adapt my playstyle to fit, you know, certain fights or certain areas. You know, those are the things that are important to me. Creating an all-around build that destroys everything instantly is just, in my opinion, not a fun way to go. But again, everyone's entitled to their opinions, and I do not begrudge them. However, I do think that it's important to remember that it's not the be-all and end-all to an ARPG. That there are a lot of different facets to a game like this that make it enjoyable. And I think we're focusing too much on the min-maxing.
Not while I'm in town.
The farming, the grinding, you know, the boring stuff. I mean, who wants to grind? Who wants to farm? Who really wants to min-max? You know, I mean, it's ridiculous how much attention these aspects are getting in a game of this nature. In my opinion, if you just play the game for what it is, while you're playing it, you know, you're essentially farming. One of the most ridiculous aspects I've heard regarding this game was the idea of farming renown. Now, renown is right up here near the top of the screen. So, for instance, I'm in the region Hawazar, and I can collect renown depending on what I discover within this region. So I can bring up the rewards, and it'll tell you exactly what, how much renown I get for everything I do. So for waypoints, if I discover a waypoint, I get 20 renown. And the more renown I accumulate, the more bonuses or gifts that I get. For instance, I claimed 3 bonuses for this region, which allowed me to get bonus experience, gold, and skill points, and potion capacity. And then I've yet to unlock the last 2 because I do need to move into World Tier 3 in order to do that. And I'm actually, and in order to move into World Tier 3, you need to beat the campaign, which I think is terrific. And I'm not sure if they changed that, but I think it's terrific that you need to beat the campaign before progressing in the world tiers. I think that's wonderful. But again, if you notice, you've got waypoints, strongholds, side quests, areas discovered, side dungeons, which are the dungeons, and altars of Lilith. Now, sure, you could choose to farm those things, okay, with the express purpose of just completing it, just to complete it. But all of these things can be done in time just by exploring the regions of the game and by doing the quests and actually playing the game. So I think there's a huge disconnect between playing the game and, like, I don't know what the term would be, like, not playing the game, but just completing tasks. And these really aren't tasks that you really need to consciously think about completing, or at least they shouldn't be. They're simply rewards that you get for just playing the game. And in my opinion, if you just play the game, then the rewards will just kind of happen. You won't need to really focus on them. And then when they do happen, when they do pop up and you get a reward for completing something, then it'll be much more satisfying because, again, you didn't set out on the mindless grind of just doing it to get the reward. Rather, you were playing the game and the reward just kind of happened. And I think that's really the best way to play any game, is just play the game, explore the world, get to know the characters, get to know the story, get to know the monsters, the lore, read everything you find in the game because it only enhances the lore of the game, enhances the story of the game. And then if things pop up on your screen that, oh, I've got a little reward here for doing whatever, then to me that's much more satisfying. It comes off more as an unexpected surprise than something that you're working towards. And again, when you're playing a game, the last thing you should be thinking about is working. Okay? Playing and working are two different things. And I think games of this nature have gotten way too much attention from those types of workers. Okay, I'm not even going to say players. Those types of workers that would rather work than actually play. Because when you work, you're able to complete things a lot quicker. You're able to set up a list of tasks and complete them in a specified order in order to attain whatever goal you were reaching out for. And for many people, that's a good way to work because they are actually working. For instance, most of the people that apply the work ethic to a game are actually working because they're getting paid while they either stream the game live, make videos of the game for YouTube or for Twitch or for any number of social media websites out there, post their stats on Facebook, whatever. They are actually working because they're getting paid. They're getting paid because you're watching them. And you're watching them because they're working to show you how to get things done a lot quicker, or to give you an idea as to how to cheat to get more rewards in the game, or shortcuts, or how to speed run, which is all valid. That's fine. However, I do think that there's too much emphasis placed on that type of player right now in the current gaming sphere. And I think that people need to realize, especially us regular players, because again, I'm not a big-time streamer or anything. I hop on occasionally, I stream my thoughts, I stream some games, but I'm not doing it with the intention of making money. I could care less. I really love video games. And I think most of us regular players, we just love video games, and we love to play them, not to work at them, but actually play them. And for some of us, it could take years for us to complete a game, or it could take weeks for us to complete a game. It doesn't matter because we're not doing it for a large audience of people who are chomping at the bit to get the clues that will give them the easiest gaming experience possible in any respective game that they're watching a streamer play. Again, that's what build guides are for. Don't use it, but there are folks who just, they copy a build, they fly through the game, and it's all status. It's all status, it's all clout, some sort of weird kind of clout status cult where they somehow, I don't know, they become more popular as a person because they've done something a certain way. And in my opinion, games were never supposed to be about that. Games are a pastime, a hobby that you enjoy to get your mind off of, the hard things in life. And that's really all a game is. That's all it was ever meant to be. and it's kind of morphed into this weird world of intense competition for status and clout. And I'm sorry, but I think that's ruining a lot of these games, including Diablo IV, because all the status seekers, all the clout seekers, are the most upset with this game because, you know, the patches destroy their build, or the patches make certain things regarding their build, the skills in their build, inferior. Or certain pieces of gear that they picked up that they thought they could hold on to forever and they would always be powerful are no longer as powerful. But there's a flip side to this. You know, there are skills that have been nerfed, you know, or I'm sorry, buffed. And there are pieces of gear that have been buffed as well. So they just simply need to find more gear or other gear or focus on other skills or, you know, change up their build to meet, you know, the latest patch. And that's what people have always been doing in Path of Exile, and I think that's what people will always be doing in Diablo IV, is you need to think on your feet, especially if you're the kind of person who's going to be playing every season. If you're that kind of person, and you don't need to be, you don't need to play every season, but if you want to, then you're going to have to face the hard facts that things will always be changing. And that's simply because they need to balance the game to meet the challenges of each season. And every seasonal game does this. So it really boggles my mind that people are getting so upset or continuously get upset when these changes happen, because there really is no reason to. And it kind of spoils the experience for people who are either on the fence about playing an ARPG, or they're considering making this their first ARPG, or if they're not familiar with the world or with the game developer, because believe it or not, there are a lot of people out there who don't play games like this. And I think what it does is it sours the experience for those people, because they immediately start thinking there's something wrong with the game when there actually isn't, and then they're influenced into either not playing the game, or they're influenced into, you know, joining the you know, the clown wagon and bashing the game, because that's so much fun. Everyone loves bashing stuff. You know, everyone loves watching bad news. Everyone loves bashing stuff. So, you know, they jump into that bandwagon, and before you know it, they're spending more time on YouTube and social media sites watching other influencers bash the game than they are actually playing the game to find out for themselves that the game really isn't as bad as these streamers and influencers who are, again, making money playing the game say it is. And the only reason they're saying these things is because, again, because they're dedicating their entire lives to playing the game just about 24/7. Anything that disrupts you know, their build ideas or whatever they've got planned in their minds for how they want to play the game, anything that disturbs that becomes a problem for them, because then they have to invest more time into the game or just give it up completely in order to make more money selling their product, which is playing the game. So again, I would urge people to forget about these influencers, forget about these streamers, and just play the game yourself. It's important to take your time. Don't feel like you've got to rush to the end game. That's ridiculous. That's insane. The whole concept of end game to me, it's brand new. You know, I've been gaming since the late 70s, and end game really didn't start happening until about 10 years ago. And prior to that, there really was no end game to any games. You played the game, you beat the game, and that was it. You might get a new game plus or a new game or something like that. But other than that, you really didn't get a further extension to the entire gaming experience. And in my opinion, you've got to give companies time to come up with those expansions. You know, they don't have them all set in stone before they release the game. There isn't a single developer out there that's been able to do that, including From Software. I mean, again, they've never really had an end game. There's no end game in Elden Ring. I mean, you can continue to play it as much as you want, but there's no end game. You can fight against other players, but that's it. I mean, there's going to be DLC, but that's not end game. That's DLC. And Path of Exile had to go through this as well. They didn't have all their end game situations planned out from the get-go. They struggled as well with creating a good end game that achieved the balance that they were looking for in their game, which again irked a lot of players. But again, those players that were irked, in my opinion, really were, it was unjustifiable. It didn't make much sense. You know, not only that, but there are a billion games out there. So if you just don't like a game, if you find a game is just not your cup of tea, you can just always just move on, play a different game, and don't ruin the experience for the people around you. Nonetheless, there are a lot of positives to be had with this game. And I'd like to try to comment on a few more of them as they pop into my mind. But why don't we head into this boss and see what we can do here. And then hopefully some more thoughts will pop in and I can share them with you. But, yeah, I'm sorry. The flack people are giving this game right now is just...
Nothing right about this place.
Kind of stupid.
Let's do this quickly.
So yeah, let's give you guys a taste of the gameplay a little bit here. I'm not going to stay on the stream for very long. There's been a lot going on in my life. I moved to another region of the world. So that's why I really haven't been online a lot. That's why I haven't streamed. Here we go.
Right, Lorat. We will inscribe the 6 sigils of Dendus in order.
Follow the second and fourth reversed.
Oh, it's nice to see you agree on something.
Focus. Let us begin.
Creation dan tenis veri dis tom hiklimon.
There. Do you feel that?
What is it, witch?
Someone is coming. It's Elias.
He's here. We have to...
Lorat, don't you dare leave!
No, I'll kill him myself.
Okay, yeah, it's supposed to be stupid, don't we? Right. Leave Doan into his devices.
The tree demands that you pay. And so do I.
Oh yes, definitely a boss fight. Alright.
Cast your corpse upon the flames. I am no one but the mother. I'm low on precious mana.
How many times must we do this before you learn? My life is not yours to claim.
I have been to the deepest chambers of the sunken temple, Elias. You have no secrets from me.
Now, that's a really good example. I thought that fight was really way too easy. But again, you know, the game wasn't as easy for me prior to the patch. But again, it's not something I'm gonna, you know, really, you know, complain about too strongly, because I do know that there will be tough fights. That not every fight's going to be as easy as that, and not every fight's going to be incredibly difficult. The same thing occurred with Path of Exile. There are some boss fights that are super easy, and there's some that are just incredibly difficult. In fact, too difficult, in my opinion, sometimes. But nonetheless, yeah, so there's a little bit of a taste of the game itself. Let's head on in. See what else we have, see what else is in store. You have to fight him again. And there was a point in the game where we had to fight him, I believe, 3 times in a row. And I hope that's not the case this time as well. But we'll see.
I am here! I lost him in the tunnels, but the swamp has him now. Haradrim, we were about to finish without you.
He's still alive? Where is he?
At the end of his bloody trail. This way.
Oh, and I've yet to even face any of the world bosses. There are world bosses that appear in the game. Fight them to, I believe, I forget. I think it might be 12 players, or maybe 8. I'm not sure. But I've yet to fight any of the world bosses yet, so that's another thing that will become part of my endgame.
Thaisa, I need to speak with him.
Then do so, Haradrim.
Lorath.
Oh, Elias. Was all this worth it then? Truly?
I brought Lilith to Sanctuary, a thing no one thought possible. And when hell rises to sweep across this world, I should be there beside her, ready to push it back. You left me alone to cross the lines you dare not attempt, and you have nothing to show for it. You are nothing but a wasted life. Do not look to forgive me, old man, because it is you who brought us here. Was it worth it? That is a coward's question, Lorath. It suits you.
Elias of Aronok.
Oh, spare me.
Of your own free will, you swore an oath to the Tree of Whispers.
This is not the life I deserve.
The tree does not forget oaths, and it does not forgive debts. It is time to let go.
Oh yeah, another really great positive aspect to this game that a lot of people don't talk about is the fact that this game not only has a cross-play feature, but it has a cross-save feature. Now, you know, again, I don't play every single game in the world, but I'm pretty sure that's pretty unique, meaning that if you, for instance, I'm playing this game on the PS4, and if I want to, if a friend has it on the Switch or on PC, I can actually resume playing my character on their system. And I'm sorry, but that's pretty kick-ass. That deserves a lot of credit. Also, if I'm not mistaken, there's also another very unique thing. Oh yes, so you know, Path of Exile, they've had seasons for quite some time, and every season kind of introduces a new game mechanic, which is great. Now, Diablo IV and the team over at Blizzard, they're taking it up a notch, because again, you know, Path of Exile is their main competition, and they're going to be taking it up a notch, in my opinion, by not only introducing new mechanics to their seasons, but also providing a whole new storyline, a whole new set of quests, a whole new realm of lore, most likely new areas to explore as well, which is something that Path of Exile really didn't do. I mean, they did it occasionally, but they didn't do it for every season. I would imagine that with Blizzard's ability to do this with the first season, I would imagine that they're going to be continuing down this route as the seasons go on, which in my opinion is again pushing the envelope a little bit in the ARPG genre. And not only that, you don't have to pay extra for the season, so you're getting extra content, stories, quests, gear, everything is free without a seasonal pass. You don't need to buy something to continue playing the game, and that's excluding any kind of paid DLC they might get, down the road, which again, Path of Exile does not have at all. There's no DLC in their game. It's just simply the introduction of new mechanics, occasionally some new areas, but in terms of storyline, that doesn't always happen with that game. And I think we're getting off to a really great start with the Diablo IV team, giving us more story, giving us more lore, more quests, more of the world to explore. I think that's great. And again, I'm not a fanboy. I don't like
I hear
Diablo
laughter
2,
on
so
the wind.
how could I be a fanboy?
Elias's head hangs from the Tree of Whispers, and your soul stone is attuned. This is where I leave you.
Leaving? We go to face Lilith.
I
I had hoped you would join us.
I know the weight of your reasons, but Lilith remains your concern. Mine lies elsewhere.
This is farewell, then. And thank you for the tea.
Take care of yourself, Donan.
She called me by my name. Lorath won't believe. Where is he?
I have not seen him since since Elias spent his last words calling him a coward.
And to prove his courage, he what? Rode to face Lilith alone?
Elias never told us where to find her.
But his head is on the Tree of Whispers. So the tree knows where Lilith is going. Lorath could ask, but he'll have to pay the price.
What price?
The same Elias paid. Eternity on the tree.
Brother, no. Get to the tree now. Stop him!
Well, I'm pretty certain I was able to lay out all of my feelings and thoughts on the state of Diablo IV. I think it's a terrific game. It's definitely one of the better ARPGs I've played. It's right up there with Path of Exile, the original Diablo, Sacred 2, which I really loved, that never gets any love from anybody. That's on the Xbox, PlayStation 3, I believe. That's a great ARPG if you guys get a chance to check it out. Torchlight 2, Undecember is pretty good. I tried that recently. This is far superior to Diablo Immortal. Now that is a game that does not have an end game. That's just a mindless grind. That game is awful. Don't play that game. That game is terrible. Unless you really need to, scratch the itch of an ARPG while you're riding the bus or taking a lunch break. I would stay away from that game entirely. So yeah, my parting words are: don't believe all the hype. This game is great. It's a lot of fun, as long as you remember to play it and not turn it into a job. So yeah. And with that, I'm going to bid you all a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you guys are in the world. I appreciate it if you stop by to listen to my incoherent rant regarding this game. And if you don't, well, that's good too. It doesn't bother me. I'm going to get back to playing, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Take care.